Welcome to the Album Anniversary Podcast. Today's show is about American Slang by the Gaslight Anthem. It was released June 15th, 2010, so it is celebrating a 15-year anniversary. I'm your host, Caleb, or Caleb the Spy on social media, and every day on social media I post about what I call album anniversaries. So, on the Album Anniversary Podcast, we take a look at a classic album, an album we love, or an album that's important to us on the anniversary of its release date. Albums on the show do often focus on alternative rock, punk, and my strange obsession with ska in the 90s. I was super into the Christian music scene, so that does come up often on the show. Today, I'm joined by Steven and AJ, and we're going to break down, like we said, American Slang by the Gaslight Anthem. Welcome back to the show, gentlemen.
Feels real good to be back.
I don't know why you keep having me back, but you do.
Well, I have you guys back because it's super, super fun to talk with you guys. I've been looking forward to this all week, so I am super excited to have you guys on the show. I think we've talked about this a little bit before, but how many times have you guys seen the Gaslight Anthem in concert?
Twice?
And 3 times.
I think, and I saw Brian Fallon solo once.
Okay.
I've seen Brian Fallon solo 3 times as well.
Oh, man, alive. I'm the baby of the group only once, which plays into how late I am on the Gaslight Anthem. So what tours did you guys see them on?
I saw them with Against Me,
Okay.
and that's actually when I discovered them, because I was a bigger Against Me fan at the time than I am now, but still a big Against Me fan. Not discovered. People have been telling me about them for years, but finally did like a discography run around them for that tour. The reunion tour in Kansas City, and then I think just
History
like a
books.
random tour. Yeah, the History Books tour in St. Louis would have been
Okay.
the 3 for the Gaslight Anthem.
Okay, so all fairly recent ones.
Yeah, Gaslight Anthem and Against Me would have been the oldest at 2014.
Okay. And then, Steven, how about you?
So I didn't see the Gaslight Anthem when they were a band before they broke up. So I saw Brian
Okay.
Fallon actually first. So I got into the Gaslight Anthem after they broke up. Or they were together, but like wasn't able to see him live. So I saw Brian Fallon for the first time when I was in New Orleans. I think it was in 2012, and he actually played with Rustin Kelly, which was like an absolute treat of a tour. Like
I saw that tour as well. Fantastic.
Oh, dude. I mean, if you haven't listened to Rustin Kelly, that's a big shout out to that
100%.
dude. I mean, he calls this stuff dirt emo, which is like so true and so good, and his writing is just so solid. And then he has some really great cover albums you need to listen to. And then when Gaslight Anthem reformed, we kind of talked about it a little bit. I shout out to my friend Hannah. She was a good friend of mine, but her husband is a tour manager for Gaslight Anthem. And so I got to go see him in LA when they decided to be a band again. And I freaked out because I was like, dude, I've been waiting for this moment for years. And it was also, I think I talked about it kind of a little bit on the last podcast, but it was like one of those first bands I saw live after COVID. And I went to LA, and I forgot how much I hate LA, but like I loved going to the Palladium in LA. And I went to Amoeba Music beforehand, and then I got to see him play. I'm trying to remember who they played with. I'm pretty sure it was Tiger's Jaw.
Yep.
When
Okay.
I saw him.
That was,
And I don't remember if somebody else played right now off the top of my head, which I feel terrible. Sorry, whoever was playing before them. But they played with Tiger's Jaw, and it was like the first time they were back. And it was just really like, I mean, I could just send you guys some videos afterwards. It just was very emotional. Just like everybody was just very excited. And then I saw him on the History Books tour last year in San Diego. And I was sitting actually on the balcony because my old man knees can't handle the pit anymore. And so it was a good time. And they played with Joyce Manor, which was really fun.
Yeah.
And somebody else too. Man, I'm not really good at this right now. I don't know, but it was a great show. And then I was at the Observatory in North Park, which if y'all come out in San Diego, please, let's go to a show at the Observatory. That's like my favorite venue that we have
Nice.
down in San Diego. So
Cool. So I'll break into my own show and just say, if there's a lot of noise in the background, my neighbor is mowing his lawn. And so I'm sure it's getting picked up with the microphone, so I apologize if you're listening to the show and you're like, why is Caleb entertaining bees while he's recording? That was a bad idea. I apologize, but so just throw that out there. I only saw them in the last couple of years. I was on I think a history. I want to say history books tour. I don't know if that's actually right because I literally saw them. It was like I don't even know if history books had come out because I think on the way to the show, I was just listening to the singles. That was all I had access to. So I don't even think history books had come out when I saw them. And I drove 4 hours to see them in South Dakota, of all places, the edge of South Dakota with Catbite. And it was super, super fun. So yeah.
Did Donovan Woods open for them too? Was it Donovan Woods, Catbite, and Gaslight Anthem?
I think so, but
that was the lineup
Catbite
when I
was
saw
first.
them. Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Only with like Brian Fallon headlining do those two openers make sense of a ska band and a very folksy Canadian.
Yeah.
Dude, Donovan Woods with Gaslight Anthem would be epic.
It was good. It was good. He was very self-aware. It was a fun time.
Full disclosure, I didn't watch a ton of his set because I was talking with Catbite. So,
hey, that's cool.
Sorry, I was hanging out with them because they were like, "Oh, you should come after our set. Come by and say hi." And so then because I've gotten to know them just a tiny little bit. So I went and hung out with them a little. So I didn't catch most of his set, unfortunately. But yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad we've all gotten to see them live. I think it's sometimes part of the experience. So adds to the experience. Oh, it's interesting, and I'm sure it'll come up. All of us a little later, except 2014 is pretty good, but all of us a little later. So that's pretty interesting. So, all right. Well, with that out of the way, let's say we jump in and tackle this album.
And them feelings got for reasons you know, but you've forgotten somewhere riding the train to a place you bought out of the cocoa, and it feels like all you have to do is step outside.
Again, we're talking about American Slang by the Gaslight Anthem, released June 15th, 2010. I've started to say this in almost every show. This one I feel very confident of. Some episode or some shows I don't always feel comfortable or, super confident of the date, but I feel really good about this one. So June 15th, 2010, a 15-year anniversary. This was released on Side 1 Dummy Records. I think I'm saying that right. This is their third album. So they had previously released Sink or Swim, and then the 59 Sound, and then this. And this was produced by Ted Hutt, who had also done the 59 Sound. And just a little bit about him, he's produced a lot of albums on Side 1 Dummy Records. That seems to be the primary place that he's done his production work. He has worked with groups like the Bouncing Souls, MXPX, Flogging Molly, the Mighty Mighty Bosstones, Dropkick Murphys, and the Violent Femmes. Much later in their career, I will say, for the Violent Femmes. It's in the last 10 years. So it feels like a little different feel on that one because that's like a super classic band, but it was much later in their career. But those are kind of some of the people he's worked with and produced for.
I feel like that makes sense of the Panic album from MXPX. It sounds like a very much production from this guy. So I can hear it now.
That's cool. Yeah, that was the one that jumped out to me, obviously having a strong connection with MXPX, and they've been one of the first punk bands I really got into. Just because they were in that Christian space. So that was one that kind of jumped out. I was like, oh, there you go. The fun little connection. So upon its release, it was very well received. I'm not going to go maybe through all these, but Absolute Punk gave it a 93%. The AV Club, A-. Some other ones that stand out. Sputnik Music gave it 4 out of 5. Drowned in Sound gave it 8 out of 10. Rock Sound gave it 9 out of 10. So very, very well received. I mean, even Rolling Stone gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and then even Pitchfork Media, which I don't know if that's different than other Pitchfork. I don't know what the difference is, but Pitchfork Media gave it 7.3 out of 10, which is, I think, very respectable for a Pitchfork review. So very, very positive reviews in general for this upon its release. This was for kind of a punk band that I would not say is like a Green Day or a Blink-182 or this super, super mainstream punk band related. This very, very good sales on this. The album opened at number 16 on the Billboard 200, making it the band's highest charting album at the time, and it sold over 26,000 copies in its first week of release, back before streaming had totally taken over, although I said streaming's full on at this point. It also debuted at number 18 and number 12 in the UK and Canada charts, so that's a very... how many albums from Side 1 Dummy Records get that high on the charts? Probably not a ton. They do have some big hitters here and there, but very, very respectable opening charting for this album.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I was shocked a little. I was like, oh, holy cow. So partially maybe because of that. I don't know. We were joking before we started. This has 7 singles. There's only 10 songs on the album. 7 of them would be released as singles, and the CCM crowd will get this joke. It is a Stephen Curtis Chapman level of single producing, because he's had a couple albums where almost every song ends up being a single. So 7 out of the 10 songs, I'll name them real quick. American Slang, Bring It On, The Spirit of Jazz, The Diamond Church Street Choir, Boxer, Stay Lucky in Europe only, and She Loves You is also in Europe only. So 2 of them are in Europe only, but still, if you don't even count those, it's half the album, 5 out of the 10. But again, a total of 7 of them would be released as singles. Pretty incredible.
I would have guessed 2. Maybe I would have guessed American Slang and Bring It On. Like, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Stay Lucky if you're going to throw in a third one.
Yeah.
Those 3 I could see as singles. So
that's amazing though. That's really cool. I didn't really realize that beforehand. I probably maybe should have researched a little bit more on the singles, but that's great for them.
So I always wondered, for a band like this, what does that mean in 2010, right? I mean, what does it mean to release it as a single? Because I don't think there's a video for every single one of those. So it means they're releasing it to radio, or maybe they're doing a lyric video on YouTube, but what radio station is playing them? I'm trying to think of the radio stations we have here in the Twin Cities, and maybe the current is, we were talking about NPR radio beforehand. But I can't, this is definitely not going on a pop station, and we have a metal station. It's not going on the metal station. So there is a question for me of what does that mean to be a single in the land of no radio? And I don't have an answer.
Yeah. No idea.
Is this iTunes dropping singles before the
could be
actual
that.
albums? I feel like that's my hypothetical, because it's weird how I section off my life, but 2009 to 2013 I was in the Air Force.
Sure.
And that's when I got into the Gaslight Anthem. And I can remember when, getting a gift card for iTunes was one of the best Christmas gifts that I could get when I was in the military. Because I was like, dude, I can finally get that album that I wanted. But I think for me, I can remember how bands would release singles every once in a while before their actual records. So, but I can't imagine them releasing 5 singles before an actual album drop. That seems insane to me. So, but I could see at least a couple of them to get some noise or some stuff. I remember how iTunes also used to do those things. They had those measures of the more popular songs and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's part of it too. I don't know.
Yeah, the only one I see a date for is American Slang, which was released in March of 2010. The rest of them just say 2010. So again, it'd be interesting to know what that means. Now I think we all have a really distinct idea of what so many artists are doing. Again, we were talking beforehand where so many artists are releasing, they release a new song, a new single every 3 months for 2 years. And then they say, all right, well, those 10 songs that we released over the last 2 years, that's now our album. You can go buy it. And so I just feel like it's not that at all. So it is an interesting dynamic of what that means when it was released as a single. I don't always do this, and maybe this is not the right spot, but I found 2 quotes from Brian Fallon on this album that I thought I would just throw out here, and they might lead to more conversation. But I didn't have a better spot for him. So here they go. "That's who we are," Fallon said. "You're presented with this American dream and all these American possibilities. And then there's the reality of what actually happened with your life." So I think that's a great, overarching theme, to kind of have going into this, because there's a lot of storytelling on this album, and it feels like that's some of the things that he was tapping into kind of on this album. And then I'll throw out the other quote as well, and then we'll see if anybody has anything to say. But it says, "In response to the obvious influences Tom Waits, The Clash, The Supremes, and most notable Bruce Springsteen had on their previous records, he went on, so Brian Fallon went on to add that this record is really the one where we said, all right, well, we've got our influences, they'll speak naturally, but what do we have to say on our own? What does it feel like to put on our own shoes and clothes? What do we sound like? And what's our story? So I think this is also that transition, which again makes a lot of sense when we start to break down this record. Like, that they kind of were like, those first records, they're kind of trying to do some of those things. You know, Tom Waits, The Clash, The Supremes, and the Bruce Springsteens. And instead, they're kind of just, in this album, there was kind of their attempt to be like, here's what has influenced us, and here's what we have to say about this American dream, I want to say, because he referenced that before. So, I don't know, thoughts on those quotes before we kind of dive in?
Yeah, I think that I was thinking about this. This kind of gets to your question later about like why is this album important and stuff like that. But like this is a kind of a transition album for Gaslight Anthem into a band that's very comfortable with themselves, I think. And you see that in this album, you see it in Handwritten. So they're at least comfortable in their shoes and jeans and plaid shirts. For this album and the next, and it really does seem like a cohesive band that has like a distinct,
Oh, we lost AJ.
I don't know.
yeah, a distinct band with a distinct sound. Very comfortable in it, and so yeah, I hadn't heard that quote, and so that thought kind of crossed my mind that this was a fully formed Gaslight Anthem.
Yeah.
Not a Gaslight Anthem sounding like Bruce Springsteen and The Clash making a record together, but a whole
Right.
band. And so, yeah, I really like that quote. And you throughout this album, and we'll get into it more, is like some social commentary, but not like direct and in your face in the very Brian Fallon kind of way of like just your friends is kind of waxing poetically about their hometown and trying to make it and the day in, day out. And so it feels very natural, very conversational, in my opinion. And so again, didn't know that quote, but you hear it in this album of somebody kind of wrestling with what was promised in the American dream and that reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian Fallon always has such a unique blending of nostalgia and then also where he is currently. So like there's that like urgency of moving forward and trying to like figure this stuff out. And then also like looking back, and we can like talk about those in the songs. Like I don't want to spoil any of that stuff, but like that's what I mean. Like that's why the quote just like impresses me a lot, because it's just like they're not trying to be those other bands, and they're trying to put their foot forward of being able to be like that punk band also, but with a lot of soul and with a lot of heart in it. And
Yeah.
like
Those are great words, because soul comes through.
Yep.
I think for sure. And like, I think this is in some ways like, I think AJ, you and I have talked about before, like why are they so powerful? And it's because they make you feel like a punk rock band makes you feel nostalgia for the 50s, even if you don't have it.
Yep.
And I will say, I think this album is their least nostalgic in some ways.
I agree with that.
And so like, that's really an interesting thing to know. Like, that's one of the things that attracts me to this band, but this album is the least of that. And so it's like, how does that work? How does that still work? Because we'll get into, I think obviously all of us have an affection for this, but yet it doesn't really go after that thing that I think a lot of us like. It really is an attractive part of them for a lot of them.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You don't know what's good for you. And give me the fevers that just won't break. And give me the children you don't wanna raise. And tell me about the cool he sings you in those songs. You've been my baby for so long. Come on, bring it on.
How did you first discover this album?
So before really getting into Gaslight Anthem, I've talked before about I had like a handful of people being like, "You have to listen to this band. Like you're going this is a you band," and just I never got around to it. But people would recommend songs to me, and Steven's kind of talking about iTunes days earlier, and so yeah, somebody would say, "Download this song from them, try this song," and I had "Bring It On" from them, and I dug that, but didn't not enough to dig further. And then they got announced as going on tour with Against Me, and I did a full discography run in early 2014. I'm gonna say like spring 2014, and that's when I fully dove into this album. And everything that everyone had ever said about Gaslight Anthem to me was correct. So yeah, I found this partially through people suggesting it, and me ignoring them, and then doing a full discography run to get ready for a concert because I am that person
Yeah.
that even if it's the opener, I'm gonna walk in familiar with their songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Steven, how about you? When did you first discover this album? And it probably ties into the band in general, but
I feel like it's weird because like this album came to me later than their other albums. So I was told to listen to the Gaslight Anthem, but I never kind of like really gave him a chance. I did buy both of this 59 Sound album and then also this American Slang album on iTunes. But I was still in the military in 2012. And so when Handwritten came out, that album actually resonated with me a lot because of the nostalgic themes. And then there was like such of that Americana love. And then I went backwards and I'm like, oh, this is where it clicks. And so, and then I went backwards and I actually didn't listen to Sink or Swim until AJ told me to listen to it this year, which is my bad. But also, because I loved American Slang when I was in the military. It like made sense to me in the military. And then that's also, and then 59 Sound like got to me. But like, I feel like it's so weird because like I went forward from Handwritten, then I listened to gosh, why am I not remembering their next album after that one?
Get Hurt.
Yep. And then they
Get
broke
Hurt.
up. And then I was just like, wait a second, what? And then it's like I had to go backwards and then kind of like keep them alive in my heart, you know, and like who they were and stuff. And so,
and I think for me, I think 2017. So chalk this up to another band that I waited till they broke up, and then I was like, hey, now it's time to check them out because I'm really, really smart like that. So I think it was 2017. I think a coworker, because at the job I was at the time, I ran a little music channel on our Teams thing. So like people would just post what they were listening to, and people would chat about music in between, you know, doing corporate America crap that they didn't want to be doing. And so like, you know, I think a coworker mentioned them, and I was like, oh, I should check them out. And I was like, oh, they got a cool look, that's for sure. And even then, I think it took me a little bit, but so yeah, it's 2017 because I think I went straight to Get Hurt as their introduction, and that's not one that I super connected with, and like it's probably my least favorite of their set, and I still enjoy it. I mean, it's not a bad album by any stretch of the imagination, but and then I think it was kind of like even like it was like, well, let's give one more try, and I think I started with the 59 Sound then because I think I kind of went and searched like where's the place to start, and somebody had, you know, some random post said, oh, I'll start with the 59 Sound, and then it was kind of like I listened to that and I was like, oh, okay, so they're one of the greatest bands ever. Got it. Okay, now and then like then it was just like, okay, well, let's go back to Sink or Swim and then just walk all the way through. So it was, I swear it was around 2017, maybe even 2018, right around that time. And it did take me a little time even just because I kind of had to find that spot. And then once I found it, I mean, yeah, this is all, we'll get into how much I appreciate their albums. But yeah, it was all in after that, at that point. So I think it's pretty interesting. All three of us kind of late, but like, I mean, I don't know. Do these guys make a top? I know AJ. I mean, they're top 5 for you, Steven, and AJ.
Top 5 of all time.
They're AJ. They're your favorite band. So there you go. So all of us a little late, and they all make it pretty high on our list of bands that we love. So that's pretty awesome.
Don't you never forget what I told you. Everybody singing, who does it better than we do? Them sopranos and any diamonds choir. Whoa, 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 nobody knows I've been crazy for so long without you. Just baby, who sings the rhythm and the blues? So sad, so like I do.
What is it that you love about this album?
I think one of my favorite things always about Gaslight Anthem is that there's you're immediately put into the heart of America. And I think
Yeah.
good bands always do things of like the mythos of like California dreaming,
Hmm.
or they do something of New York City, you know, and there's just that mythos of these like, I don't know, I feel like it's celestial cities in a sense. And one thing I love is that I'm not from the East Coast. I don't know what like the life is on the East Coast. I'm fortunate enough that like I lived in California most of my life. Not 100% proud of that, but I do love where I live. And I think being able to see Brian Fallon talking about that kind of like celestial city of New
Hmm.
York kind of as a theme in it attracts me to it of how he sees things. And like, I mean, I can think of just even like in his song Bring It On, My Queen of the Bronx. I don't know. I think I've walked through the Bronx once, but like it's just like so it's mythical to me. And I think one thing that I love about this album is that Brian Fallon takes me into the heart of America and a part of place that I don't know.
Hmm.
And I want to be there with him wherever that is. And I mean, I could think of just like I'm not big fans of musicals either, but like I think of West Side Story and I think of just like the like you know just smoke or smog and guys walking through and sewers and businessmen and stuff. And then here's this guy that's just your total Romeo that is just like I'm gonna sing my heart out. And this is this album, and I feel like we get Brian Fallon in the heart of America sing these songs, and I really love that about this album.
Yeah. Hey Jay, how about you?
Oh man, I think there's quite a bit. So I mean, it's all American rock and roll, right? Like the
Yeah.
guitars are going, all the instruments like are played up to 11. It's catchy though, you can sing it, and it's simple enough to learn as well to sing along with it. But yeah, like Gaslight Anthem is a modern kind of American band. Like I've got friends in other countries, and it's like if you want a band that kind of sums up how I at least view America and feel about America, it's Gaslight Anthem, and this album kind of helps with that as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Steven said it much better. Is it just kind of feels like America to me?
Yeah. I think it touches it's got a lot of diversity in it. Like we kind of started touching that a little at the beginning. Like they touch different aspects of rock and roll.
Yep.
So I think that helps this album feel more American because
Yeah.
it's not just their like kind of their Bruce Springsteen infused Clash mashup. That I'm not making that sounds snide. It is not at all. The
Right.
Clash is a second, my second favorite all time band. So any attempt to sound like the Clash in any possible way is fine by me. But it does. They touch on so many of those things. There's some soul in it. There's
Mm-hmm.
some blues in it. There's
Yeah.
just all these different things that they bring into it that I think helps it feel more American, and I think it helps distinguish it as not just kind of, and I love the punk rock. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
my favorite, but it does help it establish it as like kind of a rock and roll album and kind of
Yeah.
I think it feels very pure in its rock and roll, which
Yeah.
is different. And it was a different sound for them in some ways. It's not, you can tell it's the same band, but it feels different. And I think that's something that's energizing about this album.
Yeah.
I think when you're saying that, it's true because like I mean being born in 86, I mean, I had to discover music. I mean, I think I've talked about it before, like I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music growing up. And so like I had to discover bands like Tom Petty or discover American rock bands back in the day. And I feel like when I listen to Tom Petty, it's immediately this is like Heartland America or Bruce Springsteen,
Yeah.
you can feel that. And when you're listening to Gaslight Anthem, it was like something finally current that I can listen to
Yep.
that felt like where I'm like listening to it in my truck when I'm driving in the military and I'm like, dude, yes, like I can put my window down, I can put my arm outside the window, feel the air, when I'm like, and it's just like, dude, I'm here, and it's like, and I know I want to be very brief with this, but like I know the climate is so hard these days and politically, but like there is a beauty of being part of this country and a beauty of like trying to work hard and provide for your family and to be able to show up as a man, as a husband. And like I feel like when I listen to the Gaslight Anthem, I get that grind from Brian Fallon of just just trying to show up and just trying to just contribute just a little bit of his gift in his life, you know, and like feel like I want to do that too. And I think this album does that very well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he taps into that Bruce Springsteen blue collar. This feels like jeans and a jean jacket and grease on your hands. Even though I can't fix anything in my house. I mean, seriously, if I were going to go fix something, I have to bring my 15-year-old along because I'm like, okay, I'm going to try and fix this. You tell me what to do because otherwise I'm going to break it. And I do. I need him to help me because he's got that gift and I don't. I just measure twice and I still measured wrong both times. And so we're going to go buy a new 2x4. And that's the only way I build anything, you know. So yeah, I think the other thing is that it feels very emotional. Like, yeah. I think he taps into that. So not only does it feel blue collar, which you would think is the opposite of emotional, like if you're going to just stereotype crap, but like it feels very emotional. And I think he does a good job of having specific storytelling lyrics that invoke those emotions, but yet it's general enough where it doesn't feel like I'm overwhelmed by the specificity of these stories. And so like he seems to do that well too, where like he really does a good job of story, because I feel like there's a lot of storytelling on this album, maybe a little more than their last one. And I think that's the other thing that makes this feel emotional and American as another way. I didn't think this was going to be such a patriotic episode, but it is American slang. So there we go.
Something else that connects all of this together is the lyrics on this album. Like Brian Fallon is great as a lyricist, but like, and I just snagged a few, but some of the lyrics are just incredible on here. Like in the song American Slang, right? Look at the damage. The fortunes came for the richer men while we were left with gallows waiting for us liars to come down and hang. Like he was writing this stuff like in his mid-20s? I was not nearly that articulate. In Boxer, you took it all gracefully on the chin, knowing that the beatings had to someday end. You found the bandages inside the pen and the stitches on the radio. Like, people can connect to that, like, right? Yeah. We all kind of heal and connect and feel something through music. Or Old Haunts. My teenage heart pumped all my misery, baby, to fingertips that might ignite. And then Spirit of Jazz, I'm a cannonball to a house on fire and you're slow like Motown soul.
Yeah.
so good, right? Like the lyrics on this are just, and I only picked those four. I could probably pick lines from each of the songs that jump out that go like, whoa. And a funny story about Old Haunts that also connects this album to me, not to monologue, is like this album kind of reminds me of like college me. Kind of like captured me at that same kind of time period. And the phrase old haunts is like a weird phrase, I think, to use, but I vividly remember using that one time when I was trying to be like Mr. Cool, talking to a girl. It's like, oh yeah, we'll be downtown. We usually insert bar name here. It's our old haunt. And it jumped out. And I remember this because she's like, old haunt, what are you, a ghost? I've never heard anybody using that. So the fact that Gaslight Anthem has a song titled that, like, that's college me trying to sound cool right there, talking about the bar I drink at.
So she thought you sounded like a ghost. I would think you sound more like you're trying to like try out for the cast of Happy Days. That's what I thought of when you used that phrase. Like, we're going down to the old haunt, you know, we're going to go, the Fonz is going to bang on the jukebox.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's where Brian Fallon is coming from. But that was her joke. It was like, if we're haunting someplace, are we ghosts? Like,
I don't think she got the reference.
Right. But yeah, like totally trying to sound like Mr. Cool. But like that's what Brian Fallon here is doing, using, 1950s-esque language.
Right.
And so yeah, that made me laugh when I was thinking about this album of like, I vividly remember that conversation because she totally made fun of me for trying to be like cool and be like, yeah, I'd probably find this there. It's our old haunt. Yeah. Fair enough on being made fun of for it.
That's a great story.
I don't think I've ever used the phrase old haunt in a sentence, I will say. But I'm not as cool as you are, so that tracks. That tracks.
Hard to disagree, my man.
When we take a beating, yeah, we keep it down with the radio on. And if you found a good man, don't take him home. When you're working full time and spending all of your nights, never dancing like you did. And the gravity hangs on all the cell points you had. She stayed
is this album an album that's important to you, or if it's, I know it's important to you, but we'll give the out is if it's not something that's important to you, why is it something that holds up?
So one of the things that I think makes this album kind of unique in Gaslighting Anthem's discography is like it's like their forgotten record, right? Like it gets lost in the noise of the debut of Sink or Swim, the incredibleness that is, 59 Sound or even Handwritten, the I don't know if controversy is correct word around like Get Hurt with such a change in sound and all that and the breakup and of course, history books being the return record. So this kind of gets lost. And so I think this is like important to me because it's like this hidden gem that well, if people have heard of Gaslight Anthem, even if they've listened to them, they may have even seen them in concert, right? Because I actually looked this up. They don't play very many tracks off of this album live. They play like two, and it's never the same two songs like over the times that I've seen them. And so like you could go to Gaslight Anthem, you could potentially go to them multiple times and like not interact with this album. And so I think it's kind of important because like it is Gaslight Anthem standing on their own 2 feet, but it gets lost in the shuffle.
Interesting. So it's funny that because I feel like it's album 2 in the best 3 album run I can think of. Like I will say it. I think 59 Sound, American Slang, and Handwritten is. I will put that 3 album run up against any album, any 3 album run, and maybe you can find a better one, but I think it's going to be neck and neck. I would argue, and I would say all 3 of those albums are borderline perfect. This is my least favorite of the 3, probably. That's not. I'm not ragging on the. I'm all down. I'm down with 7 singles off this because I feel like it's got so much going on. So that's interesting to think about it as like kind of a forgotten one. But I bet you it is in a lot of ways because I think Handwritten was also a huge hit. 59 Sound is obviously there.
Yeah, 59 Sound and Handwritten were huge. And then this sold really well. But I would be curious if this sold really well and got lost in the shuffle for people so that like people might see this anniversary and they're like having to dig through and they're like blowing the dust off the record.
Right.
Even Gaslight Anthem fans are like, yeah, I play 59 Sound weekly. I play Handwritten, I don't know the last time I gave this a run. And I don't know if you agree with that, but like this sort of just feels like it gets lost a little bit.
I can see that. Yeah. Steven, how about for you? Why is this something that holds up for you or is something that's important for you?
I think one thing that I love about this record, I feel like sometimes like if you, and this is going to be obscure a little bit, but like when you listen to hip hop music, hip hop sometimes has some lines in songs that I feel like if you listen to some like Kendrick Lamar or you listen to some Nas or something, they'll name drop things and you don't really realize it. And so, I mean, like speaking of like, the third song, Bring It On, but tell me about the Cool and how he sings you those songs. Well, I mean, obviously it's capitalized and I'm like, tell me about the Cool. Like I need to discover what are you talking about? And I feel like that's one thing that I love about Brian Fallon. Sometimes he drops these little gems on there that add layers to his music. And that's one thing I think that this album I love a lot. And it allows you to discover other music. Like, I mean, you even think of Boxer. I mean, I think of, Simon and Garfunkel, like one of the greatest songs ever. The Boxer, was that both of them, right? I don't know. I feel bad. This is where me with my non-Christian music, I don't know if that's Simon and Garfunkel or if that's just Simon or Paul Simon just singing it. But like that's one thing. Like I think Brian Fallon and what I love about this album is that he does such a good job and the band does such a good job of being able to just do these little references, and like we were saying, this album really stands on its own. You could see the references of, the Clash or, Tom Petty or Bruce Springsteen and stuff. But this is very much a heartfelt album from the Gaslight Anthem. And I would agree. Like I was texting AJ a little bit earlier this week. It's like, I don't think it's my favorite album. But then after I said that, I listened to it a couple more times. I'm like, dadgummit, dude, Brian Fallon gets me again. Like, it's just like, it makes sense. And it's just like, there's just such an urgency to this album. Like I feel like this album had to come out fast And I feel like this album wasn't just an album that just like was like, I feel like sometimes they strip it down or they slow it down and things. And this album is just like, dude, we got to just show who we are, and this is who we are. And I love this about us. And like it's just like his heart out on his chest, not even on his sleeve and nostalgia. It's like, dude, like stab me in the front if you want to see me how I feel, like, and I think that's why I love this album a lot.
Yeah. So I have a theory on why they may not play as many of these songs live. Is I wonder, when I listen to this, I feel like this is them stretching themselves. Like musically, we've talked already about the kind of the variety that goes on here. And so, but I also feel like it's in Brian's voice. Like there are a number of songs on this album where I feel like his voice feels not bad. I want to be really, really clear, but it feels pushed. Like it's him pushing himself to sing something that he hadn't sung or hadn't sung in a way before. And I think this is one of those things that, in my opinion, it's that album, like a lot of bands have to do that album where they push themselves and they stretch themselves. And maybe not every last thing they do, they after the fact, they come back to it and they feel like that all worked perfect. And they might look back on it in 3 years and go, yeah, I would have done this different, or I wish we would have done this different. But you've got to do that thing to kind of get to the next phase, where I think, again, I feel Handwritten is this next step in a lot of ways. It kind of, they really, really find themselves even more. And so I see this as that sort of album too, where like they're stretching themselves. And I feel like there's a lot of vocal delivery on here where I think, and I could be way wrong, that it feels like Brian is really pushing himself to try something new. And I love that. I love when bands do that. I'm not a huge fan of a band just doing the same album over and over again, even though, yeah, when bands do that and they just continue to put out great album after great album, it's great. But I'd rather see a band that wants to grow and maybe stumbles a little or feels like they didn't nail it, but they learned from it. That can be way more valuable for a band, in my opinion. So to do that and still have it be such an enjoyable record is a real testament to how great this record is. Fourth question that we always go through is, what are your favorite tracks off this album? So, Steven, what's a favorite track for you?
I want to just start out with Bring It On. That was the first one that just really resonated with me re-listening to this album. I want to like keep it where I just re-listen to it, just because I feel like that's one thing about Gaslight Anthem. I feel like it's so fun being able to listen to their discography and finding songs that didn't resonate with you before when you're growing up, and they do now. And so I feel like this one, what's it called, really, really resonated with me this time. And I feel like this is, I'm going to get like a little bit transparent. I mean, I kind of talked about it a little bit before the show. I mean, we were talking about being dads and stuff. I mean, I'm a dog dad, but like I'm not, a dad to children. And my wife and I wanted to be foster adoptive parents when we first got married. And that was like our heart and stuff. And then when my wife walked away from the faith, that kind of disappeared completely. And one of the things that I love about this song is just the like heart cry that he says, give me the fevers that just won't break and give me the children that you don't want to raise. And like I pray that my wife has a change of heart someday, but like I love just that idea. And if it's better than my love, baby, bring it on. Like just like, dude, like I love that fight in him, and I like this scrappiness that Brian Fallon has in this album. Like when we see references as the boxer, orphans, and different things, that there's just these outcasts and these people that are just trying to fight for something. And to me, I love just like that song just really meant a lot to me. Like even at the very end of it, when he says, "Stop clicking red heels and wishing you're home," like, dude, you're home already. And like I feel like sometimes it's it's hard because of that disconnect between in our marriage sometimes. But like, I love my wife. I mean, we just celebrated 9 years the other day and of our New Orleans wedding, and I just love my wife, and I love that just God answers prayers. But I love this song. Like, give me the children that that you don't want to raise. Like, I hope that we could still be foster adoptive parents someday. So that's, I know, emotional, but that's something that really meant a lot to me.
That's great, man. Yeah, I love Bring It On as well. It's, but at this point they'd released, 59 Sound and everything, and at least one person I knew was like, Bring It On is a song I'm going to tell him to listen to get him to get into this band. So that's a pretty powerful statement about that song. But like, to kind of what Steven says, is that I think captures some of my ethos too, and some conversations that I had in previous relationships and whatnot, of like, doesn't necessarily have to be my own kids. Like, could adopt, we could, whatever, bring it on. And even now, my wife and I, with 4 kids in our household, have also talked about like, well, once the kids get older, do we want to talk, maybe be foster parents or something like that? Like, and it is going to be, people from difficult situations and whatnot. And you know what? Again, bring it on. We're here. We're gonna be there to help. And so like that attitude of like in the song, at least the storytelling of this person that like loves this other person so much that like they want to be there, is I think pretty powerful. And I see why this was picked by that person to be like the song that they wanted me to listen to get into Gaslight Anthem. So
yeah, it's also a favorite of mine, and I think Stephen, the lyrics on this one are just, I think they're incredible. Like, they give me the fevers that just won't break, and give me the children that you don't want to raise. Like, the way I think about that also is like, as we all 3 of us are married. And so like, there's things that we all also take on for our spouse, that it's like, oh, can I do this so that you don't have to? And so you can go focus on this thing, or you can do that. Like, that is also part of it, is like, there's it supposedly is kind of him telling the story of somebody who's getting divorced. And I think that's kind of the storytelling angle he's going for, the little bit of research I had looked at.
Yep.
And so like, yeah. And so like, I think that idea of like, I'm still here and like, I want to do anything I can. And like, we were talking beforehand about like, I feel totally exhausted, like 90% of my life is exhausted from, family life and just trying to keep up with things. But like, I try, and my wife does it too. My wife, when I said, hey, I'm going to go downstairs and record, her response was, awesome, have fun. Even though it's been a really long week for her too. And so like, there's that aspect of it too, where like, I love how well he communicates that love aspect of like, even in this strained relationship, I want what's best for you. So yeah, give me the fevers that just won't break. I'll take him for a while, and you rest up and that sort of thing. So I think the lyrics on this one are just fantastic. Some of his best, in my opinion, on this album.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. AJ, how about you? What's the song that you want to talk about?
I think the opener, American Slang, is such a good opener, right? Like, yeah. I am a sucker for an opening track. This is something I've discovered about myself in all of these music conversations that we have, especially a well done opening track. Like, American Slang just starts off really well. It's a title track and drops you in. Like, a well done opening track is the thesis track of an album. It tells you what you're getting into for the next, 45 minutes or so. And American Slang does that really well. I mean, I highlighted, I think, some of the lyrics earlier of American Slang. And it is one of my favorites of Gaslight Anthem. I don't know about you. We talk on like Twitter or stuff like that of like top 10, bop 10, top 5, whatever. I make set lists, like ideal set lists for a show, and American Slang is on there.
Yep.
It is such a good track. So what about you two? Do you guys like American Slang?
I love the idea. I mean, like, I have now 23 tattoos, 24 tattoos. I've lost count. I'm getting another one next Tuesday. So, I mean, maybe 24. We'll see. But I
25.
love this.
Maybe it's 25.
25.
Maybe you have 24 and you're getting 25.
I mean, it could be. It could be. But I just like the idea of like, I have your name tattooed inside of my arm.
Yes, such a good line.
Like, dude, and for me, and then it's just like, I don't want to get super existential spiritual again, but like, I love the idea of just like, I'm going to get tattoos on earth because they're going to disappear someday. Like, these are my reminders for the rest of my life. Like they have stories. There's things that I have tattoos. Like I just recently got Andrew. I got the Flame of the West on my arm, which is pretty cool, and I got it with one of my best friends, and just a reminder that, redeem the blade that was broken. And my friend has it too. And we're just, fighting till the end, because, someday that sword is going to get reforged. And someday I'm not going to have all these tattoos, and it's going to be great. But right now, I need these reminders because I'm a forgetful freaking person. And thank you, ADHD. But also, I love that, like, I have your name tattooed inside of my arm. Like, guaranteed, dude, that guy, he's going to see that tattoo every single day. And I think that's one thing that I love that is just like so powerful of just how Brian Fallon writes, is just like being able to just like, that's where it is. I mean, I have my wife, I have a gypsy girl tattoo. That's my wife. I see her every single day, even though my wife says it's a Disney princess and she doesn't like it at all. And it's like, whatever, can't please them all, can't win them all. But, it means a lot to me. So, and I don't want to forget her, and I love, this is how I see her, in a good way. So
All of my tattoos, except for one, are for people in my life. Or were in my life or whatever. And so yeah, that line, it does jump out to me too, of like the importance of that and what that means. That like, do you know what the level of care, dedication, love, like whatever term you want to use, to have some semblance of some reminder of that person on you is such a good line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great opener, and I think it's my favorite song off the record, actually, which is really weird for me. I very, very rarely think the first song is my favorite, but I think it's too good. Like, it's such a great song. It feels like I don't know if it's the quintessential, I don't think it's the quintessential Gaslight Anthem song, but it's up there. And it sounds like, if you're making a list of their quintessential songs, it's in that, because it checks all the boxes I want out of a song. It's catchy, it's memorable. Probably not a word. It's just got all these great aspects to it. One interesting fact that I thought was interesting is it's one of 3 songs off this album that were actually B-sides to the 59 Sound, which I think is really interesting. That again, I'll play my hands. 59 Sound is my favorite record by them. And I think that is a perfect record. Like, I would say it. And they had 3 leftover songs that they put on this. And one of them is American Slang. Like, that's how good 59 Sound is, that you punted this to the lead song and the title track for the next album. It kind of shows you how complete of an album the 59 Sound was. And I think this is a great kickoff to this. They couldn't have started this album better, in my opinion.
100% agree.
One I love a lot too is Diamond Church Street Choir. What I love about that is actually the very bridge at the very end. Oh, it's the pre-chorus. There you go. My fault. All right, here we go. I'll just be silent next time. I'm so forgetful. All right. So the pre-chorus, but the beat never leaves, and a tempo's a relief to my aching bones, rambling all over. And if I'm gone for too long, I can always hum along. So don't forget what I told you. So never forget what I told you. And
Amazing.
Dude, like Brian Fallon, this is why Gaslight Anthem is in my top 5 of all time. There's something that Brian Fallon does when he writes his lyrics that I just, it's immediately relatable, but it's also immediately just, there's that sense of just like, gosh dang it, man. Like you get it, and you're saying things that I can't say. And I'm thankful that there's artists like the Gaslight Anthem that say the things that I wish I could say. And I think there's so many times in my life where the beat never leaves, your heartbeat, you're feeling you're feeling everything that you're feeling in this life. And then, like, we're talking about like the presentness of being into this scene of where you are in New York, and like maybe denim jeans and denim jacket or grease on your face. You're gonna feel that heartbeat when you're doing your hard work, you're doing everything that you're doing. The tempo's a relief to my aching bones. There's that beauty of why your heart beats. And then rambling, and if I'm gone too long, I can always hum along. So he's gonna just keep on going, and he's gonna make it. But then he's like, don't forget what I told you. Like, dude, like and sometimes I can feel like that's what I love about it. It's ambiguous. Like, who knows what he told her?
Yeah.
But like, guaranteed, whoever this girl is, dude, I guarantee dang sure that she knows what he told her. Like I would. I mean, as a writer, I would like. I mean, I've written some poems that I've like posted out, and I'm like, I mean, before the subtweets, existed, the MySpace posts, that you would, or away messages on AOL Instant Messenger if we want to go way back, but like, like the real, I wrote these things, and like they're like that. That's kind of like that comment, like, "Hey, I'm trying to say something to you," and that's one thing I love about this album or that song specifically. Just ambiguous ending was for free course.
Well, it's such a cool song because it's like Gaslight Anthem does like soul
Yeah.
a little bit, right? Like there's a little bit of even like gospel in there, I feel like, with some of the sound. And so it is such a cool sound for them because it is kind of what you were talking about, Caleb, of like bringing in different aspects of American music, and they do it in a really cool way that still sounds like Gaslight Anthem.
Yep.
So I really dig it for that reason too, of like, wow, like Brian Fallon does this on his solo stuff too. Like his first two solo records are almost like blues rock records, right? And so to see that here in the soul aspect, like you can just kind of almost like imagine like a choir singing, doing this, and like in a church in New York City. So such a cool. He paints a very nice picture, and Gaslight Anthem with the music paints a really nice picture of kind of being in a church and hearing this choir.
Yeah, it feels very doo-wop. That's what
Yeah.
It just, and again, it feels very American in a lot of ways. Like it's just American R&B is what I almost want to put it at. But yeah, it's musically, it's a super captivating song for me. Even though it's like, again, I think this is one of the ones where I think there's times where his vocals he's trying something new, and you can tell. And I think it's a great a little song to put in there.
Yeah.
Kind of comes out of nowhere, and you're like, oh
yeah.
And here, especially because it's track 4, like those first 3 are all bangers in my opinion, and then you drop this one, and you're kind of like, whoa, all right, here we're going here. So yeah.
One I want to bring up, talked a little bit about earlier, Old Haunts.
Mm-hmm.
The opening guitar riff on there is, I love a good opening guitar riff. Like this almost reminds me of like Smells Like Teen Spirit by Nirvana, or I listen to some Spanish rock, so De Música Ligera by Soda Stereo. Is like that riff that they have very much feels like that. And so again, I'm a sucker for that stuff. Like I hear those riffs and I'm like paying attention. I'll immediately kind of sit up. And so Old Haunts has this like great introduction and then goes into a killer song.
Yeah.
But I'm a sucker for a good solid guitar riff to open up a song like that. So.
Yeah. That's got another one that the chorus on it, like those lyrics are some of my favorite. Like, and don't sing me your songs about the good times.
Yep.
Those days are gone and you should just let them go. Like that is a message. So many, I'm just going to pick straight on. We are 3 white men in our 30s and 40s, and all of us like do need to let so much of our demographic needs to let the good times are gone and you need to let them go. And for me, it's like a good reminder of like, yeah, I get it. And it's, if I would have known you then, whatever, I don't care about that. I need to know you right now.
Yep.
I want to focus on right now. And like, so I don't know if that's what he's trying to say, but that opening to that chorus is just great. It just draws you in. And with that guitar riff, it's a perfect mix. It's a great, great rock and roll song, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%. And like I know these people, so and I don't think these are fairly uncommon people. The people that are like, oh, still living like the glory days of high school or college when they were the quarterback of their college team or whatever. And it's like, cool. Now you're garbage. So, can we talk about that now?
Right.
And talk about who you are now. And so many people that want to live off of who they used to be. And this is a theme that comes up in other songs of his, like the I Could Have Been a Contender was another one that kind of addresses this similar theme, which is off of Sink or Swim, I think, if I'm remembering that right. And so I think he's got a beef with somebody that like he loves nostalgia, but he doesn't like ruminating on the past and like treating it like it's like a better version of himself, and that like, you can be trash now because you used to be good back then.
Yeah. Yep. Song 2 off of Sink or Swim is I could have been
Hey,
a
I got the
Kitten
album
here.
right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. And the
Well,
other thing about Old Haunts for me is that it's what the great closing to the album, Old Haunts, The Spirit of Jazz, and
Yeah.
we did it. We did
When
it
we were
really
young,
young.
was such a
Like,
great, yeah.
yeah, it's a great way to close the album, and it's a great 3-song. And I love there's a lot of variety in those 3
Mhm.
songs, and so you
Yeah.
get this straight rock and roll, and then something a little different, and then that just great cool down at the end. The great Bruce Springsteen impression, which I'll at some point bring up that song as well. That's my opinion of it. But yeah, it's a great little start to that final third to the album.
Mm-hmm.
just briefly, just because if
You
we're
don't have
talking
to be
about,
brief at all. Talk as long
but-
as you want.
But okay, I would love to talk more about this for a long time. No, just kidding. What I'm gonna drop a New Jersey reference, but what I do love is that when we're talking about nostalgia and we're talking about like these old things and stuff, and then trying to know people now. There's I don't know if you've watched The Sopranos. It's one of my favorite shows of all time. But there's a great scene with Tony Soprano, and he has his boys that are making fun of him in this scene, where they're sitting with their gumars or whatever, and they're talking about old Tony. He was fat back when he was a kid, all these different things. And it's like funny for a little bit, and then it gets really serious. And then Tony looks at both of his friends, his best friends, and he says, nostalgia is the lowest form of conversation.
Hmm.
And he walks away. And I remember that scene, like that line wrecked my soul, because I'm very much of a, we were joking about it just a little bit ago, like
Yeah.
the OC. We were joking. There is a part of me that loves nostalgia. The other part of me, since that scene and since learning that I had ADHD and being properly medicated, and helps me be a lot more present with people and helping me be a lot more alive in the moment rather than having to live in the past that were my glory days or what. I love just that idea of that, nostalgia is the lowest form of conversation. But what beauty is that being present and where it is. And so I feel like when you're listening to these, Gaslight Anthem songs on this one, I wanted to go to the last song on the album, because if we have other ones that we can listen to, but I cannot hold a candle for every pretty gun. We were strangers many hours, and I missed you for so long. When we were lions and lovers in combat, faded like your name on those jeans that I burned. Like, dad gum, bro. Like I remember like having to burn things that I loved from an ex.
Yep.
I remember.
I'm so not an emo kid. I don't know what you two are talking about.
I mean, I didn't burn them. I just tossed them. But getting rid of things. Yeah.
I burned them, man. I literally, I went out to this backyard in Holt, Florida. I was in the United States Air Force, and I was like, dude, Holt sounds as hick as it is, and there's no fences between yards and stuff. And I got a box of all of her stuff, and I burned it. Burned that stuff. And but for me, I needed to do that, and so lines like that, this and this song, I feel like we were lions in combat, at the very end of it, there was those fights and those things where this was a girl that was my first girl I ever fell in love with, and we were going to get married, and I had a ring for her, and she called it a ugly beep ring. I don't know if you want to beep out language and stuff. And I was like, all right, we're done. And then we thought about getting back together, and she's like, yeah, I just don't ever remember, you being hurt in this. And I'm like, dude, game over, dude. And I burned that. I burned that stuff, burned her jacket. I burned her, the stuff that smelled like her. I burned this, the shoes that I had from her, the letters, everything. But this song just means a lot, just because it brings it back. And it's not that I want to be hypocritical of nostalgia is the lowest form of conversation, but these lines remind me of those days where I could be present, and of how grateful I am that I'm now with my wife for 9 years. That is my best friend, that I don't have to burn her stuff, she gets to sing some of these Brian Fallon songs with me, or Gaslight Anthem songs with me. So
yeah, I think it's a great closing track. It's a great way to, I wouldn't pick a different song to close this album. It closes it down beautifully. And I think maybe it's just me knowing the Bruce Springsteen, inspiration, but it feels like that a lot to me. Maybe it's more
No,
Tom Waits.
100%.
But
No,
yeah,
I hear the Springsteen
that was my
influence.
note, is like it just feels like that late stage Springsteen where he slows things down. And I think it's a great it's another one where this feels like him trying a little something new with his vocals, and it works. This one works perfectly. I mean, it's so great in my opinion. Great closing song. So yeah.
It's a good one. Like you said, this is a perfectly sequenced album, in
Yeah,
my
I
opinion.
agree. Other songs you want to talk about, AJ?
I'll throw out Orphans.
Okay.
I like Orphans a lot. Right, like some solid lyrics, like this idea of, in some ways, people coming from households that feel like they have to raise themselves, or,
Hmm.
in Fallon's case, not knowing his dad, if I remember correctly. Right, I think that's just relatable. And I love the line about like we were orphans before we were sons of regret. Like I have that down as a band name. That someday,
Hmm.
if I Sons of Regret would be a fantastic band name, or Gaslight Anthem like cover band name. Right, and so like, but that feeling, right, that you kind of raise yourself a little bit. I think there are people that can relate to that. Plus, it just rocks.
Yeah, I think it's the first song off side B, I think, if you have this
Hmm.
on vinyl. And
Yeah, it picks up.
it's a really great way to start off side B.
Yeah, good
Because
energy.
it could be an opening if you didn't have American Slang there.
Yeah,
It could be another opening track that you
I
could
agree with that.
start an album with. So
Just going back to, I think, I mean, I don't mean to be repetitive. I am just edit this out, but I just think that Brian Fallon does very good using imagery of just like the boxers, the Romeos,
hmm
the orphans,
Hmm.
these images of these people that had to fight for something.
Yep.
You know, and I think by all accounts, it's so cool using things that you aren't. I mean, like if you're thinking of like writing love songs, like back in the day, like I'm gonna do a reference from Peter Cetera. Oh, I want to be a knight, who will fight for your honor. I'll be the hero that you're dreaming of.
Hmm.
What kind of hero or guy is going to use the orphan as the hero?
Hmm.
But that's what I love about Brian Fallon is like he kind of like flips that coin and like does these things where he uses these people that are scrappy that had to fight for something that have probably a lot of love in their heart and wanting to give it out to somebody. And I feel like that's one thing that I love that Brian Fallon does in these songs is that using his orphan as an example as a hero, like, and I think that's pretty unique.
yeah. I want to talk about at least one more song.
Sure.
So The Spirit of Jazz.
Yeah.
So we just talked for 20 minutes. Just full disclosure, it's going on the Patreon about movies and other random crap. So The Spirit of Jazz is one more I just want to call out the lyrics. Was I good to you, the wife of my youth? No other soul could love you like my rotten bones do.
Yeah.
So I will wait on the edges in between these New York streets where you and I would meet. I've never been to New York. I didn't have a wife of my youth. I don't care. This song makes me feel something amazing. And I don't even have any like relatable, like, yep, I was married young. I wasn't married young. I've never been to New York. Man alive, what a great lyrics, in my opinion. That chorus is just killer.
Yeah, it's such a good song. And there's a Miles Davis reference. Like, who
Yeah.
doesn't love that? Like, that's super neat. But no, that line, the wife of my youth, and even if you're not married young, like the concept of like childhood sweethearts kind of comes to mind because I wasn't married young, but I had childhood sweetheart. And that's sort of what I think about in the context of this song. So yeah, it's catchy, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
it's Brian Fallon, man.
And it just works so well
Right.
right after Old Haunts and right into that closing track. Like it's just, I love that song. And I love a lot of the songs on this album, but that's one, those lyrics every time it hits. Cause again, it's track 9. I mean, it's the end of the album and they put this banger of a song at track 9. Well, who does that? It's great. It's so great.
Just listen to this album. That'd be great.
I'll say it the other thing. We did throw it out. I said the first 3 songs are bangers. We didn't call it out by name, but Stay Lucky is, I love it. And I love how it feels like impatient in the verses. I love how it feels like it's rushing in the verses to get to a chorus that feels so warm. I don't know if any of those words make sense, but that was my
get
note.
it.
Is it totally feels that way. It's an amazing way that again makes me feel something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
No,
mean,
it's a great song, and it's
Yeah.
great live.
well, I mean, it's like that line, right? It took so long just to feel all right again.
Mhm.
You know, like, and it's just that nostalgia brought back to the present again,
Yeah.
you know, and like, and I just think it is that, you know, just that get me to this place where I feel all right again.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And so I definitely agree. I like that song too.
I'll just throw out the two other songs. 'Cause I mentioned there was three songs that are B-sides from American Slang or from the 59 Sound. One is Boxer, which we I think we briefly mentioned, and then The Queen of Lower Chelsea is the other song. So that's another song that was again originally I think in the 59 Sound sessions because they actually did release like a 59 Sound B-sides,
Mhm.
and those are the three songs that I noticed were on there, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting that those are left. Again, I can't believe American Slang is a leftover song. I'll never do
incredible.
anything that well in my entire life, and it'll never be a leftover thing.
For a good time, and he said he just doesn't miss her. I have heard you never really lose it, do ya? Well, do ya? You took it all gracefully on the chin, knowing that the beatings had to someday end. You found the bandages inside the pen, and the stitches on the radio. But there was something heavy holding you down, and there were whispers that were driving you crazy. And now you're the heart of this town. Remember when I knew a boxer, baby?
All right, so our final question, and I don't know who's going first, so you guys can fight over it. So our final question that we always ask on the show is, it's 15 years later. There's a chance we all were a little late on the Gaslight Anthem. So I think there's somebody who could have been late who's missed this album. Again, a lot of the listeners that I have generally are focused on like the CCM music and the Christian scene. So there's a chance you've missed this. But what would you tell to somebody like, hey, go back 15 years later and check this album out?
I think for me, anybody should give Gaslight Anthem a chance because I think Gaslight Anthem does a really good job of being able to just imagine yourself driving somewhere and you want to listen to music. And I think Gaslight Anthem wants to take you to places where if your destination or long drives or your like thoughts when you're beside yourself, if you're away from your family or if you're on, you know, picking up your kids or going on your drive to work and stuff. And I feel like Gaslight Anthem is like such a good band to be able to just like really listen to music. Or if you like collecting vinyl, Gaslight Anthem does vinyl so well is because Gaslight Anthem causes you to listen to music. Like I think sometimes some bands are great bands for background noise. If you listen to Sugar Rose or like Explosions in the Sky, or if you want to put on, I don't know, soundtracks if you like or something, and you can just listen to background music.
Yeah.
Gaslight Anthem, I kind of touched on it earlier, causes you to actually listen to music. And I think it's pausing. Like there's like, you know, when you go to like a jazz club show, you don't go there and you're like talking to your neighbor, you know, you get yourself a cocktail, you sit there and you listen to music and you just do it. And I think if you drink grape juice, great. If you drink wine, great. You know, if you're drinking a drama whiskey, listen to that and listen to American Slang. And I think you'll appreciate it a lot because Gaslight Anthem will just it takes you these places that you want to listen to music and you want to, and I feel like it's a continual discovery with this band of how great they are and how special they are because this is just one album out of many that they have that are just really great albums. And I mean, I touched on Gaslight Anthem is in my top 5 of all time. And it's because Gaslight Anthem makes me listen to music. Like Gaslight Anthem forced me to stop and actually hear what he has to say. I didn't have to have it just be background noise anymore. And like Gaslight Anthem allowed me to be present and like accept the past of what experiences that I have had in my life. And then also just moving forward and being able to just like sing along with it. And it just like, it grows with me. And that's one thing that I would say American Slang of just however it is in my life of just trying to this American dream of just like being able to provide for my family or just being able to be grateful that I live here or where I live in Carlsbad, California, and being able to just survive out here. And it's expensive but I'm grateful for it, you know, and I love that I can listen to bands like Gaslight Anthem that just makes me appreciate where I live and being able to enjoy good music.
Awesome.
Gaslight Anthem makes you want to listen to music. Stephen, that is an incredibly thoughtful sentence that really captures it. That's great, man.
Mm.
That was a really, really well put. I don't know how I can add much to that. Like, it's a fantastic album. Man, it's full of rock and roll fury, but it's got heart and it's
Yeah.
catchy. You know, Steven, you're talking about putting Brian Fallon wants to take you somewhere. Particularly, I think he wants to take you to like a 1950s diner late at night with a broken heart, driving some 1950s classic car, maybe with some like Elvis or Ricky Nelson on the radio. That's where Brian Fallon wants to take you, and make you feel better, and make you feel like there's somebody out there that gets it, that's been through it, and that's been through it in this country, and in a view of America that I think is similar to my own. And so why should somebody check this album out? If you want to, I think, understand a perspective of America and a perspective of fighting to make it in America, fighting to be in love, to have a life, to have meaning to that life and not simply exist. So if you're trying to figure out America, that's why you might want to check this album out. But I can't top Gaslight Anthem makes me want to listen to music. Steven's got that there. It's a good line, man.
Thanks.
So my pitch is in the middle of you have 115 minutes at some point in your life, because it's not like watching a movie, right? So 115 minutes is less than 2 hours. You can listen to, again, what I would argue is the greatest 3-album, one of the greatest, if not, it's my favorite 3-album run of any band. And this sits right in the middle of it. You can do all 3 of those albums, the 59 Sound, American Slang, and then Handwritten. It's 115 minutes to get through all 3 of them, because this one's only 34 minutes. It is a punk rock album in heart,
Yep.
but yet it has a heart. Yes, exactly. And it's like, it's just this great mix. You can see this progression through those 3 albums. You can see growth. You can see experimentation within reason. And again, these albums make me feel something. If you're worried about something, this is something I love listening to in the car, because I can sing along to it with my kids. And, you know, I feel like it's good for my kids to listen to, because it's just good old rock and roll,
Exactly.
but it feels fresh. And I want my kids to catch music. I want them to be infected by music a little bit, maybe not to the obsession situation that I'm in at this stage of my life, but I want them to love music. And I feel like this is a band, I think you nailed it, Stephen. Like, this is a band that can make you fall in love with music. And these 3 albums in particular, and, you know, I'll say it, like, I think it is. I think this is my 4th favorite album by them. And I have almost nothing bad to say about it.
Right.
Like, that's how good they are, in my opinion. Because I think I go the 59 Sound, Handwritten, History Books, and then this. And I don't have a bad thing to say about this album. I love sliding it into the CD player in my car. I love popping it on the turntables. And I think I bought it digitally. So this is another three things that I bought at 3 different formats. The only one that I will say, you said they're great for vinyl. If this gets to Brian's ears or anybody in the Gaslight Anthem camp, please reissue Handwritten on vinyl. Please. Because it's $80 right now on Discogs.
Ooh.
I don't want to pay that. I just don't have the budget for it.
Right.
Please reissue Handwritten on. I will be the first one to buy it. I will pre-order the crap out of that thing. So if this gets to somebody in the Gaslight Anthem camp, seriously, Handwritten needs to be back on vinyl. Desperately would love to see it on vinyl. So anyway,
$80?
Yeah, well, it's not even the most expensive album I'm tracking on Discogs.
So does that make American Slang the Empire Strikes Back of Gaslight Anthem albums for you? Like, if it's the middle of a trilogy?
It does, but then that makes History Books the Last Jedi, and I don't want to stretch this analogy too far.
But that's a selling point. If you're a Star Wars fan and you love Empire Strikes Back, this is the Empire Strikes Back record.
Yeah.
That is crazy to me. I have it on vinyl, but I bought it when it came out a long time ago, you know, like around this, like I got it at Grimey's record store in Nashville. So,
well, I am officially jealous of you because, that's one that I have on my chase list that I'd love to get at some point. So
if I see a good price for it, I'll let you know. Or maybe I could talk to Hannah, and maybe if she has something lying around, maybe I can ask.
Yeah. If you see a good price for it, I'll buy it. Text me and that's one I'm willing to go in on. I'd love to be able to find it for a semi reasonable price. So yeah. Anyway, that was a whole other tangent. We've had a lot of tangents in this album. We'll see how
ADHD
this
is
episode.
Awesome. So you got two people with ADHD on as guests, man. Like,
yeah, we're just
does the structure of the show help or hurt? Because
No, it helps, but also you talking about Wes Anderson gets me super excited about Wes Anderson. So I'm gonna go down that trail till that dog can't hunt no more. So
Your blood was mixed with wine and robbery, baby, and left us always wanting more. So don't sing me your songs about the good times. Those days are gone and you should just let them go. God help the man who says if you'd have known me when old hearts are full, forgotten ghosts.
that is it. That is our breakdown of American Slang by the Gaslight Anthem. Again, released June 15th, 2010, celebrating a 15-year anniversary. Guys, I know both of you have online presence, so this is your time to sell stuff. Steven, where can people find you online?
Yeah, on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, I'm Steven versus T-Rex. You can find me there. I love just talking about music, dropping my 5x5s on Friday or discussing just anything vinyl music related, or looking forward to the new Jurassic Park movie. I'm excited about it. That one's coming out, but I just love anything dinosaurs, but just anything. Let's just talk about life and just find me there. If you want to follow my life on Instagram, which is probably a lot more boring because you just get to see the more personal side of my life, but that's as good as it gets at Instagram. And I am currently writing my second Western novel. I finished my first one, which is pretty exciting. Meeting with Chase Tremaine pretty soon. I'm supposed to talk about that. And I am writing a sequel right now. That's called Will right now. And I'm very excited about the sequel. It might be actually my Empire Strikes Back, and might actually put that one out first before my original one, which feels like I'm cheating on my first book, but I do think I might do that. But
yeah, the number of books that I have complete that I haven't released, man.
It's very cool.
Number of books, man. I am not productive. 0 books. This is the only thing I've ever produced into the world. Ugh. It's these little podcasts.
You have 4 children.
That's true too, but I mean, I don't. Let's be honest. My wife does all the heavy lifting. I'm only hurting the situation by my involvement. No, that's not totally true. AJ, you've got books and podcasts. What do you want to start with? This could be a section. Strap in, everyone. You've got a lot of stuff to pitch.
Just find me on Twitter, AJ Simmons 1987, and just buckle up, buy the ticket, take the ride. What will I be promoting today? New book, podcast. There's music coming that I'm involved in, but shh on that. And so yeah, my podcast that I focus a lot of my energy on nowadays in that world is Crashing the Political Party. If you are sick and tired of the 2 major parties in the U.S. and want to learn more about other options out there, we usually go about 30 to 45 minutes where we talk to candidates from third parties and independents. We talk to historians about previous ones. We're going to start talking about topics that's not covered by mainstream news. I have a PhD in political science, so I'm not pulling things out of my backside. This is not like your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving just throwing out takes. I actually have like educated takes on things. And I think it's a pretty accessible show. So there's that. You can find me on the Everglow show as well, occasionally talking about music with Kylan Savage and host Eric McClanahan, king of CCM Twitter. So I think I'll stop there. There's also books you can find on Amazon and go to Bookshop, get it through Bookshop. AJ Simmons is what that stuff's published under. So I'm a Chaos Goblin. Like I said, buy the ticket, take the ride, follow me on Twitter.
Yeah, I forgot about the Everglow show. I was like just thinking about your other podcast. Jeepers. You got more going on than I do. Well, thanks so much, guys. I've been looking forward to this all week. Super excited to talk about this. We got to make the show last next year. No, it'd be 2 years before we get to cover Handwritten. I'm trying to think what else. When would the 59 Sound would be 3 years. So support the show, people, just so that we can come back and talk about Handwritten and the 59 Sound, because that would be a thrill. So yeah, support the show so we can do this we can keep on talking about these every couple of years, get together and chit chat about the Gaslight Anthem. So, all right. Thanks so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
Go talk to your internet friends.
Yeah, go talk to your internet friends. It's good chatting with you, gents.
Yeah, it's great.
Thanks, guys.
We would dance all night. Out on the steps in my baby's time to do it like they do it for the girls uptown. I heard it light 'em up like the blues. So I'm waiting, and she's waiting for us to remember. And was I good to you? The wife of my youth. None other soul can love you like my rotten bones do. So I will wait on the edges in between these New York streets where you and I would meet.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Album Anniversary Podcast. I want to say thanks again to AJ and to Steven for joining the show. Great to have them on, as always. Some of my favorite guests, some of my favorite people to talk to. I do really love talking to my internet friends about music. Let us know what you thought. What did we get right? What did we get wrong? What are your favorites from this album? You can find me on all social media. I'm on Twitter at CalebTheSpy, and I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky. I'm on Patreon at the Album Anniversary Podcast. I'm on YouTube as Caleb the Spy or the Album Anniversary Podcast. I think you can find me through both ways. And you can also email the show, CalebTheSpypodcasts at gmail.com. I have a running spreadsheet of all the shows I plan on doing. If you want to be on the show, that is the easiest place to start. Start with that email, and I'll see if I can get you hooked up and on the show. Again, that's what we're here to do, celebrate music, talk about music. I'd love to have you on the show if possible. Please subscribe and share the podcast. Please leave a rating or review. I have heard it is an effective way to spread the word about podcasts. If you enjoy this show, you might also enjoy the other show I work on. It's called I Survived Youth Group in the 90s. It's a podcast where we not only do we reminisce about our youth and our youth group experience, but we're trying to interview fellow 90s and 2000s youth group kids and just hear about that youth group experience, how it's impacted their life, and where they're at today. There's no right or wrong answers. We just want to hear people's story and their experience. Thanks again for listening, and we will talk to you soon.
We were lions, lovers in combat, faded like your name on those jeans that I burn. But I am older now, and we did it when we were young. I'm older now, and we did it when we were young.
I have you guys back because it's super, super fun to talk with you guys. I've been looking forward to this all week, so I am super excited to have you guys here and on the show. That was good improvising by me. I say that every show. It's boring, but I like structure.
Structure helps my ADHD immensely.
Just once
so
does like that
thank you.
guest go, no, never mind. Like I've seen what this show's going to be, and I now regret my life choices, and I'm good. Like we're done there.
One of the recent shows on the Liver show about Steve Taylor, Scott's response was, okay. And I totally, like, it threw me off because I was like, but yeah. So no,
If I ever say something idiotic, you just could give me the finger or just like let me know. just let me know, like, dude, you're lame.
no, I think the sillier the better sometimes. I mean, it's brings a little life to the show.
Well, I feel a lot more comfortable with you guys throughout these times, so I feel a little bit more lively.
Oh, we lost AJ.
I don't know.
It's okay. We know where he was.
Distinct.
Yeah. A band that has a distinct. That's where he should start. If he comes back.
Do you want me to say something? Or do you want me to just
we can wait it out.
Let's do it. It's kind of a great picture of him right there. That could be your thumbnall right there. There he is.
I don't use a thumbnail.
Okay,
Oh, there's back.
sorry. I could hear you guys the entire time.
funny.
That was weird. All right, so
Good.
all right, this is okay. I think I pick up that. Yeah, this is a distinct band. with
Glad we
distinct-
didn't say anything bad about him. Oh, we dodged a bullet there.
Hey, Dave. Whew.
All right.
You won't remember the little man.
All right. Sorry about that. I live in rural Illinois, so apparently internet sometimes is not great. But okay, so I was saying, like, let's see if I can pick this up.
Distinct.
Yeah.
They have a
a
distinct sound. Sorry. So, yeah. I got to stop saying, so yeah, at the end of my comments, because I edited them out all the time anyway. Save my time now in recording.
I didn't even hear it. So
I say it all the time, but I know my little things because get to edit them.
I did not think I was going to start a massive discourse.
Yeah,
around
you
just
really got
being
people
like,
going.
this is they haven't been good in 20 years.
People want to
haven't
talk
been
about
great.
them, I will say.
Hey, I like Fix You, but that's because the show The OC, but that's a whole nother nostalgia conversation.
Oh, the emo kid has arrived.
Senior citizen, sir.
Oh, man. All right. Well,